5 facts about Resident Evil you probably didn't know. Resident Evil wasn't originally its own idea. It was actually meant to be a remake of a 1989 horror game called Sweet Home, before Capcom's Shinji Mikami turned it into something entirely new. The name Resident Evil isn't what the game was called in Japan. Over there, it's known as Biohazard. The name had to be changed for the West because of trademark issues with another game and a metal band that already had that name. The original game actually opens with a live-action intro. Capcom filmed real actors for the sequence, giving it that campy B-movie horror charm the series is still known for. Resident Evil 2 almost got completely scrapped. An earlier version of the game, now known as Resident Evil 1.5, was so unsatisfactory that the whole thing was rebuilt from scratch before release, and the series has sold over 100 million copies worldwide. That makes Resident Evil one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time. Like, subscribe and follow Last Frame. Kingdom Hearts is a straight-up Disney and Square Enix crossover. It combines Disney characters with Final Fantasy characters in one RPG, a mashup that honestly shouldn't have worked, but somehow became a massive success. Sephiroth's voice actor in the first Kingdom Hearts was a boy band member. Cloud's iconic nemesis was actually voiced by Lance Bass of NSYNC fame. Ariel almost took a completely different role in the story. Early in development, she was planned to be one of the 7 Princesses of Heart. Developers decided she was too strong and independent to be a victim, so Alice from Alice in Wonderland took her place instead. The series has sold over 25 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time. And Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't actually the 3rd game in the series. Once you count every spin-off and side title, it's really the 13th game overall. Like, subscribe and follow Last 5 facts about Pokémon you probably didn't know. Pikachu wasn't originally meant to be the face of the franchise. In the early manga, the main character actually had Clefairy as his partner Pokémon. Pikachu only got chosen later, specifically to appeal to a wider audience. Mew was secretly snuck into the original games. It was added into Pokémon Red and Green right before development wrapped up, and very few people at Nintendo even knew it was hidden in there. Raiden was actually the very first Pokémon ever designed, way back before the rest of the roster even existed. Pikachu has literally appeared on real money. Back in 2001, the island of Niue put Pikachu on the back of one of their official dollar coins to celebrate the franchise, and Pokémon Scarlet and Violet marked a huge first for the series. It's officially the first open-world game in Pokémon history. Like, subscribe, and follow 5 facts about Gears of War you probably didn't know. Gears of War almost didn't exist as its own game. It actually started as a totally different project called Unreal Warfare, set inside the Unreal universe as a massive multiplayer game, before developers came back years later and turned it into what we know today. This game literally changed the Xbox 360's hardware. When Epic Games showed off an early demo running on Unreal Engine 3, the graphics were so impressive that Microsoft doubled the console's memory from 256 megabytes to 512, just to keep up. One actor voiced 2 different characters in the series. John DiMaggio provided the voice for both Marcus Fenix and the character Franklin. The Berserkers, some of the most terrifying enemies in the game, are actually voiced by a woman. D. Bradley Baker voiced those monstrous creatures, and ownership of the franchise has changed hands more than once. Epic Games sold the entire Gears of War IP to Microsoft in 2014, and the series has been developed by the Coalition ever since. 5 facts about Call of Duty Zombies you probably didn't know. Zombies mode almost got canceled before it ever released. Studio head Mark Lamia nearly cut the whole thing during development of World at War, and it only made it into the final game as a bonus, hidden behind the campaign. The very first zombie map was actually a secret. Noctur Untoten unlocked only after players beat the campaign in Call of Duty. World at War back in 2008. Nobody even knew it was coming. In the story, zombies aren't caused by a virus. They're created using a fictional element called Element 115, which becomes the backbone of the entire Zombies storyline going forward. Zombies didn't become its own standalone mode until Black Ops. Before that, you always had to finish the campaign first just to unlock it, and the mode has stuck around for a long time. As of Black Ops 7 in 2025, Zombies has now appeared in 13 different Call of Duty games. Like you probably didn't know, Minecraft was built shockingly fast. The very first version was created by Marcus Notch Persson in just 6 days back in 2009, although it took another 2 years of updates before the full game officially released. Minecraft wasn't always called Minecraft. Early on, creator Notch simply referred to the project as Cave Game, before landing on a name that actually captured what the game is about: mining and crafting. Microsoft bought the entire game for an insane price. Back in 2014, Microsoft purchased Minecraft and its developer Mojang for $2.5 billion. Those eerie gas sounds you hear underground aren't computer-generated. They're actual recordings of the game's composer's cat waking up from a nap. And Minecraft is the best-selling video game of all time, period. It sold close to 240 million copies worldwide, more than any other game ever made. Like, 5 facts about GTA San Andreas you probably didn't know. CJ's voice actor was discovered by pure luck. Producers overheard rapper Young Melee while they were talking to a musician about the game's score, and they instantly knew he had the perfect voice for the character. San Andreas was almost a completely different game. The lead producer revealed it was originally supposed to have 3 separate playable protagonists, but the idea got scrapped because of technical limitations at the time. Tommy Vercetti from Vice City almost made an appearance in this game. Rockstar had actual plans to bring him in, but those plans fell apart because of a dispute between Rockstar and actor Ray Liotta. The infamous hot coffee scandal came from a hidden minigame buried in the code. Once players found a way to unlock it, Rockstar was forced to pull the game and resubmit new versions just to avoid further controversy. And one of the game's most iconic bridges isn't based on California at all. While the Gant Bridge is clearly modeled after the Golden Gate Bridge, the Garver Bridge is actually based on a bridge in Edinburgh, Scotland, since much of the development team was based there. Like, subscribe, and follow. 5 facts about Overwatch you probably didn't know. Overwatch was actually born from a canceled project. Blizzard originally spent years developing an ambitious MMO called Titan, and when that project got scrapped, part of the team took what they'd learned and built Overwatch instead. Tracer was the very first character designed for the entire game, before any other hero even existed. One of Overwatch's heroes almost had a very different name. Pharaoh, the rocket launcher-wielding hero who can fly, was originally going to be called Rocket Queen before Blizzard changed it. Several other heroes went through big changes too. Mercy and Tracer were both originally designed as male characters before becoming who we know today. And Overwatch features an absolutely massive amount of dialogue. Over 7,000 lines of recorded voice acting, translated into 12 different languages, adding up to roughly 84,000 total lines across the whole game. Like, subscribe. 5 facts about Splatoon Raiders you probably didn't know. This is officially the first ever standalone spin-off in the Splatoon series, launching exclusively on Nintendo Switch 2 back in July 2026. And it's technically the 4th game in the franchise overall. The game almost played completely differently. Early prototypes had you laying down traps like a tower defense game to fend off waves of enemies. Developers scrapped that idea because it felt more like watching a fortress play itself out, instead of the fast-paced action the series is known for. The island setting wasn't the original vibe either. Early concepts gave the Spiralite Islands a playful resort feel, complete with giant water slides and enemies just lounging around on float rings. This is the first Splatoon game to ever include difficulty settings. Players can choose between tourist, raider, or survivalist modes, depending on how intense they want the experience to be. And it's also a big technical first for the series. Splatoon Raiders is the first game in the franchise to support HDR and the first to include furigana text for younger Japanese. 5 facts about Marvel vs. Capcom. 2 you probably didn't know. The game has an absolutely massive roster. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 features 56 selectable fighters, making it one of the biggest crossover rosters in fighting game history. Ruby Hart wasn't originally created for this game at all. She actually started as a rejected character design for Capcom's Darkstalker series before getting repurposed here. A ton of iconic characters almost made the cut but didn't. Daredevil and Black Widow were cut over worries their movesets wouldn't be interesting enough. Hawkeye was dropped for feeling too limited, and Scarlet Witch got cut because developers were afraid she'd be way too overpowered. This game became insanely valuable due to licensing issues. It was only released for Xbox and PlayStation 2 for a very limited time before Capcom lost the Marvel license, which is why those physical copies now sell for huge prices online, and a Nintendo Wii port was actually planned at one point. It ended up getting canceled because the game's file size couldn't fit within the Virtual Console's limitations, and licensing restrictions meant it couldn't be released as a physical disc either. 5 facts about Castle Crashers you probably didn't know. It was created by the same person behind Newgrounds. Castle Crashers was made by Tom Fulp, the founder of Newgrounds, and it carries that same comedic, cartoonish art style you'd find on the site. The Clown Princess at the end of the game is actually a hidden reference. She's a nod to Tricky the Clown, an early animation made by one of the game's creators. There are way more bosses than most players realize. Between mini-bosses and main bosses combined, Castle Crashers actually has 21 total boss fights. The game went through a ton of changes before release. It was originally shown off at Comic-Con back in 2005 with completely different designs, and even had the working title, Ye Old Side-Scroller, at one point. And this indie game has had serious staying power. First released in 2008, it got remastered in 2015, ported to even more consoles in 2019, and received a brand new DLC expansion called Painter Boss Paradise all the way in 2025. Like, 5 facts about Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions you probably didn't know. The game inspired a huge comic book event. It helped inspire the 2014 Spider-Verse comic storyline, written by Dan Slott, who also worked on the game's story. And ironically, that comic later helped inspire the Oscar-winning movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. All 4 voice actors playing Spider-Man had already voiced the character before. Neil Patrick Harris, Josh Keaton, Dan Gilvezan, and Christopher Daniel Barnes each played Spidey in a different Spider-Man show before joining this game. Ideas from the classic 90s animated series directly influenced this game. Concepts like Madam Web recruiting multiple versions of Spider-Man, and even the Tablet of Order and Chaos were both inspired by storylines from Spider-Man, the animated series. The noir sections of the game borrowed heavily from a very different franchise. Those stealth levels are strikingly similar to Batman Arkham Asylum, right down to the final boss fight, and this game vanished from digital stores entirely. When Activision lost the Spider-Man license in 2014, the game got delisted everywhere, briefly came back on Steam in 2015, and then disappeared again for good in 2007. 5 facts about Fortnite Battle Royale you probably didn't know. Battle Royale mode almost wasn't the main event. Fortnite was originally released to save the world, a co-op survival game, and it only took Epic Games about 2 months to build the Battle Royale mode on top of it after they saw PUBG blowing up. The whole genre is actually inspired by a Japanese novel. Fortnite and PUBG both draw from Battle Royale, a 1999 novel about middle schoolers forced to fight to the death on an island. That same novel also influenced the Hunger Games. Fortnite broke a massive streaming record in 2018. When Ninja played with Drake, Travis Scott, and Juju Smith-Schuster, over 628,000 people tuned in at once, setting a new non-tournament Twitch viewership record. The competitive scene has paid out insane amounts of money. Bugha won $3 million at the 2019 World Cup Finals, and the solo tournament that year had a total prize pool of over $15 million, with even the last-place player walking away with $50,000. And this game briefly had physical copies. During its original 2017 launch, you could actually buy Fortnite on a physical disc. And those discs are now rare collector's items. Like 5 facts about GTA 5 you probably didn't know. GTA 5 had the biggest video game budget of its time. At $265 million, its combined budget became the biggest in video game history when it released back in 2013, a record that was only beaten years later by games like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. A real assault happened during motion capture. Michael's voice actor, Ned Luke, actually got hit with a bat while filming a scene where his character meets Martin Madrazo, since the actors used full motion capture to make everything feel as realistic as possible. 2 massive single-player expansions got completely scrapped. Rockstar originally planned story DLC, including a new casino heist and a zombie apocalypse expansion similar to Red Dead Redemption's Undead Nightmare. But GTA Online's insane success caused them to redirect all their development toward multiplayer content instead. Some of the game's voice acting came from real gang members. According to writer Laszlo Jones, several NPC voices were provided by actual gang members, who were allowed to go off script for added authenticity. And the game landed Rockstar in a real lawsuit. Actors Lindsay Lohan and Karen Gravano both attempted to sue the company for using their likeness in